In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at much colder times ahead. It already is very cold right now. We do expect a warm up through Christmas and the days following, but for the early to mid-January timeframe, we do expect severe cold, even colder than what we've seen so far this winter in December. Could be absolutely frigid, and a massive snowstorm still possible. The European model now picking up on a snowstorm that looks like it could be the worst one in years if it shaped up the way it shows, which, spoiler alert, it probably won't, but we'll talk about the variables and possibilities moving forward. Now, with all that being said, we're going to dive into things. I'm a little bit under the weather, so you might notice my voice is a little off. I do apologize about that. We are taking a look at the past 20 days here, and this is the look, and obviously we have 22 days of December, so this isn't the full sample size, but really I can only do the past 20 or the past 30. I really only have one or the other, so we're going to have to wait and see. But we do see colder conditions throughout the east. Those first 2 days that we're missing are colder as well, so it likely will look even colder than this once we see the full month. But we see that a lot of cold air has been shooting down from Canada straight in to the eastern United States, even the southeast, seeing a lot of cold air. And a lot of this is due to some warmer air that we have around for the west, and we call this a positive PNA, and this is what forces the cold air into the east, and we've seen a lot of this. And when we look at the 3 to 4 week outlook from NOAA, the National Weather Service here, for January 4th through 17th, they're calling for a lot of the same. When we look at this, we see above normal temperatures out west and a lot of colder times ahead for areas in the east once more. It looks a lot like what we've seen through December so far. This is the current expectation. Now, as we dive into this European model, again, we're going to see a massive snowstorm on this model. Just keep in mind that things likely will change, so keep that in mind. Now, as we take a look at this afternoon, we see that, again, we're currently undergoing some cold air here in the east. This will die down over the coming days, especially as we move past Christmas. The coldest areas that'll kind of remain cold is going to be whoever's closest to the eastern seaboard here, actually. A lot of these areas end up being pretty neutral to slightly below normal throughout the Christmas timeframe and beyond, which isn't originally what we anticipated, but that is looking more and more likely as time moves on. Now, we also see some warmer temperatures out west. This is helping to cause this cold for now, but again, this is all going to flip up. We see some storminess moving on shore to the west, and this is typically something that is a catalyst for bringing the colder temperatures to the west as well, which again forces things to become warmer in the east. So that is one of our beginning signs here that we're going to be undergoing this colder air in the west. And when we look at Monday afternoon here on December 23rd, what we're seeing is some snowfall for the Rockies, some more storminess out here. Also, we get a clipper system moving through the Great Lakes in eastern Canada for the 23rd. As we just move this forward towards Christmas Eve, the 24th, this is kind of the morning hour, 10 a.m. Eastern time, we do see a lot of snowfall for the mid-Atlantic and northeast in here, and this system is one that's kind of trended snowier and snowier over time, so this has continued to look progressively worse, and this is going to bring quite a few folks a white Christmas, which is so cool, and I'm so envious of you guys. Please enjoy it for me. Hopefully I'm feeling better by Christmas, because it's drawing awfully close here, unfortunately. Not a good time to get under the weather at all, but we do see the west here, some snowfall for the Cascades, Sierra Nevada here, rainfall in other areas, of course. Now, as we keep going, I'm going to take us straight towards Wednesday here on December 25th, Christmas Day. And again, there is still some cooler air, especially if you're along the eastern seaboard here. The warmest air going to be over the central states here, and we still have some for the southwest. It's not a fully negative PNA yet. We do have snow falling for the Rockies, especially the central Rockies here, on Christmas Day, and also the Cascades here seeing snowfall around that time frame as well. Some showers for the Ohio Valley and deeper south, something to keep in mind, but overall, a pretty decent Christmas Day here that we're seeing. Now, as we move this forward towards Thursday on December 26th, we see more of this snowfall and storminess coming on shore to the west, and this is for all three of the major mountain ranges out there. We see the Cascades, Sierra Nevadas, and Rockies all experiencing some pretty significant snowfall for the day after Christmas on Thursday. As we look at the Mid-Atlantic, we also see continued snow showers for Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York as well. That's definitely interesting. And perhaps a batch of thunderstorms here for the southern plains like Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. Interesting day after Christmas, to say the least. As we move towards Friday the 27th, continued snowfall and storminess out west, also a cooler trend, and we see this warmth kind of expanding out east. And again, when we watch these dips and ridges, we see that it's actually descending towards the east coast. So this is your kind of sign that we're seeing colder conditions along the east coast and areas inland. We see it descending towards the coast. So that's exactly what I'm talking about here for the Christmas and after Christmas time frame. Now, as we continue on towards Saturday on December 28th, things only continue to look stormier and milder for the east. What we're seeing is lots of rainfall throughout the deeper south, also throughout portions of the upper Midwest. We're seeing that, so very, very interesting. We're continuing to see maybe even thunderstorms in this area here. Severe weather could be a possibility as well. Definitely something that I'm paying attention to. When we look out west, we're seeing still some snowfall for the Rockies, especially northern Rockies, even the Cascades there. We're seeing some of that snowfall and possibly the Sierra Nevada. It's showing rainfall here. I think we'll probably see snowfall in there if we saw that much precipitation. Let's keep going. I want to take us straight in towards Sunday on December 29th, and what we see is a more expansive and more impactful storm system here for the east overall. Again, heavier showers, thunderstorms possible, especially the further southeast you go. We can tell that the jet stream at this point is moving straight through the central west, dipping over the plains now and rising up over the east. So this cool down in the west is kind of coming to an end, and this new cool down in the east is just beginning as we see Arctic air kind of flowing in through the upper Midwest here. Let's keep going. I want to take us straight towards Monday on December 30th. And what we see is plenty of snowfall here for the Rockies and areas just east of it. Very heavy as well here. Some low pressure over Wyoming. We also see another bout of colder air over the northwest, and this is the main reason why we actually think things are going to struggle to get cold for a little bit in the east. It's not going to happen immediately as we get kind of a marginal cool down here in the east. It's not very severe yet. A little bit of a low there offshore of the mid-Atlantic, maybe bringing some New England or New York snowfall, maybe even both here as well during this Monday the 30th time frame. As we move towards Tuesday the 31st, it's a lot of the same, except we have a storm system moving through some of your Ohio Valley areas, like up into Kentucky here. So this low is right here. Some snowfall for the Midwest right there, and a lot of rainfall down underneath it. And we continue to see this expansive cold out west, but it is spreading in for the north central states by this 31st time frame, New Year's Eve. So that's kind of the look as of now. We continue to see this milder temperatures over the east, but as we move a little bit forward here, Wednesday on the 1st, it starts to look a lot colder in the east. So that is moving eastward. We do see a 994 there nearby New England. And this is bringing some mountainous snowfall. Mostly lower elevation areas are seeing primarily rainfall. That is just the look. And I mean, that's pretty standard, obviously. The Southwest, a little warmer. Your jet stream, obviously a trough for actually a majority of the United States here. Very interesting. With this trough, I would say the center of it being the central states here. Something just like this is mostly what we're looking at. As we keep going towards Thursday, January 2nd, is more snowfall for the mountainous west here. We see a lot of this going on. We also take a look here at areas around the Great Lakes and Northeast. We're seeing continued snowfall for these areas, so looking quite wintry. And even though we don't have a fully warm west, I would say the trough is now centered mostly over the east, where we have this expansive cold moving in, and it's pretty severe as well for the early January time frame. As we just keep moving on, this is when things get really interesting, guys. So take a look. January 3rd, we see this positive PNA finally getting a little bit vertical up the west coast here, so a little bit more expansive. This colder air is pushing eastward, so the center of it being still over the plains, but it's kind of going to rotate around with this storm system that is now forming over some of the plains and Midwest areas. Now, a factor here at play is that we have a lot of Gulf moisture being infused into this storm system because it dips so low. It's getting a lot of moisture embedded in that system. And as we move towards, sneak peek there, this is 1 a.m. on Saturday, January 4th. We see this low is in the Gulf of Mexico, really picking up steam down here. And this trough is really digging deep. And we can tell based on the jet stream exactly where this one's going to move. As we keep going towards later on in the day, we're seeing snowfall as far south as areas in Alabama and Georgia, but mostly interior North Carolina, Virginia, Maryland, D.C. Here we're seeing a massive snowstorm around that Saturday, January 4th and 5th time frame. 980 just offshore of the Delmarva here. For coastal folks, this would bring rainfall basically for North Carolina, Virginia, even up into southeast New Jersey, because that low is so close to the coast, it's pulling warm air onshore. But for areas just inland, just 50 miles or so inland, we are seeing heavy snowfall for central North Carolina, central Virginia, DC, central Maryland, most of Pennsylvania there, northern New Jersey, into New England. This is a hefty snow system that we're seeing here. As we keep going just a couple of hours, it's down to a 969 over southern New Jersey. Again, bringing massive amounts of snowfall to Virginia, Maryland, D.C., Pennsylvania, New York, areas in New England. And again, that low coming near the coast is hugely impactful for temperatures because, look, we're seeing rainfall for New Jersey, southern New England, and then snowfall for coastal North Carolina and Virginia here because it's underneath that low where this cold front has come offshore. So that low coming close to the coast is hugely impactful to the rain snow line, basically. Now, as we keep on going on here, we see that this one continues to move up the coast. I accidentally skipped over there, but 967 near Long Island. Heavy snowfall prevails into Sunday, and then that low moves right up into New England and eventually comes to an end. Very, very crazy stuff. That is a hefty snowstorm, probably one of the biggest ones I've seen on the models in a long time. And then we basically end the model run with this look. Jet stream moving straight through the west and then dipping southward for the east here. And this is Arctic air. This is frigid because this is coming due to that SSW that we've been talking about, really bringing very, very cold air with it. We're talking 20, 30 degrees below normal likely at times. So a very, very far departure from what's typical. Now, as we move towards the GFS model, we're going to skim through it. We get a little bit less cold and a little bit less snowfall here. And what's interesting is yesterday, this was the model that was really showing the majority of the cold and the snow. And we're seeing it a little less snowy and cold. And we're showing a lot more snowfall and cold on the Euro. So we've kind of flipped sides here. When we reach that New Year's time frame, we do get colder in the east here for a moment. Here's that 4th, 5th, and we do have a low. We do have low pressure near the east coast here. We do have snowfall, but you can tell there's a massive difference between what the GFS and what the Euro are showing at this point. This is way different than what we saw in the European model, to say the least. As we keep going through, I mean, that comes to an end, and we actually get milder in the east here for the 7th of January, and much colder over the west here, which this year has not been common. So that's one reason to think that this may be incorrect. It's very far out as well. And just based on the upper air SSW that we do expect, this doesn't really look like what we would be expecting from that. So there's not a whole lot to support this other than just this model calling for it, which usually you want a little bit more support than just that. As we keep going and look at the European model's total precipitation, we see massive amounts over the northwest here, hugely active, and then also clearly through the deep south and up the east coast is a very active area on this model run as well. And when we look at the anomalies, I mean, this is picking up on all that. Above average for the northwest and near average to above average in a lot of these eastern areas as well. As we take a look at the total snowfall on the European model, obviously huge for the Rockies, Cascades here, Nevadas here. We see quite a bit for the Midwest and Plains. But it's this eastern area that really steals the show. And I want to take a look here at the east overall. And we are seeing massive, massive amounts here. We're seeing in the blues 2 to 6 inches, purple 6 to 10, pinks 10 to 20, your pastel blues 20 inches plus. So we're seeing feet for some of these areas from this potential snow system. You know, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Virginia up through DC, Maryland, Pennsylvania, upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire. These are kind of the bullseye areas. And it's funny, I just mentioned yesterday about how the snow system that we saw that was a lot more coastal, I could really see it trending inland very, very quickly. And it did just that. I was talking about Winter Storm. I think we said it was called Jonas, the one from 2016, the blizzard. And this track looks eerily similar to it. I know that Jonas didn't track up the coast and bring much snowfall to New York and New England. It was mostly south of this line. So it looked pretty similar to this, just double the amounts. I don't expect that high of amounts, but I meant the track and areas seeing snowfall. And we actually took a turn in that direction, which is pretty interesting. Now, GFS snowfall, obviously going to be a lot different. We do see some for the east here, a lot less though. Midwest and Plains is also a lot less. And then the Rockies, Sierra Nevada, Cascades are all pretty similar here. Now, temperature pattern, we're very cold now. Again, we warm up and get milder. But again, the East Coast holds on to a lot of it after the 25th. We actually see colder temperatures for a while there. We don't get much colder until about the January 3rd, 4th, 5th here when we start to see deep Arctic air moving in. And there's a lot more of it about to move in as well. So huge changes coming up for the early January timeframe according to this model. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe as we upload every single day, and we're going to be tracking this one with you guys and moving through it with all of you. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it. Leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.